when you've been doing social media for a while, after a while, you kind of get smart with it. And so you start building a catalog or a library of content that you can pull from. The more you have, the better, especially if you know that you're going to be cycling through the same content repeatedly. Like, I have a tweet library. I actually have a couple of tweet libraries depending on which account I'm looking to grow. But a lot of this content was built over time, and it's been pulled from blog posts and podcast episodes and videos and other content that I've produced over the years. And we kind of live in a world that encourages, snippets and tidbits and sound bites and all that kind of stuff, which means, people are kind of liable to respond to the content in whatever way they choose to respond or feel like responding to. And that can mean that there can also be a lot of knee-jerk reactions. I know I'm not the only one that gets this. In fact, really the top marketers or entrepreneurs, some I look up to, some I don't, but that's kind of beside the point, get criticism too, right? And this is really not about responding to the specific comment I got. I really just wanted to ask a few questions to everyone listening, and just pose these for you and look in your own life where maybe you're at effect where you really could be in power. So the tweet that got responded to was around politics. And of course, as they say, if there's one thing not to talk about at the dinner table, it's politics. But in effect, it said, a lot of people are quick to blame politicians without even looking at themselves. So for me, anyway, there's a deeper context to that, and I can easily see how you could respond to that in probably dozens, if not hundreds of different ways. But when I look at that, I'm basically thinking, like, I may not be responsible for wars that have happened across the world, or I may not be responsible for natural disasters, and I guess nobody really is responsible for those, but let's just say, massive catastrophes couldn't necessarily be tied back to me specifically. And yet there are things about myself, like if we were really to trust these personal development books that we all engage in, that everything is a reflection of who we are, and when we look out into the world, we find what we are and we attract what we are. And so if all we're seeing is devastation, then what part of us is that channeling? So that's pretty much what that quote would mean to me. And again, the content of the response doesn't really matter that much, but if I was summarizing, one of the responses I got was, in effect, are you saying that I could cause a minor mishap in my own life that could lead to massive catastrophe across the world? So in our fast-paced, tidbit, snippet-oriented kind of world, there's a few questions that I think you really need to begin asking yourself. And so the first question is, do you live life in sound bites? I understand well the tendency to want to respond in a knee-jerk kind of way to things that come up, right? I really do, because sometimes I'll see comments that I completely don't agree with and might be inclined to type something in, even if just to be a troll. But I usually reserve my opinion and hold stuff back because I'm like, well, what's that going to do, right? And so the question is really like, are you willing, and do you, as a habit, choose to go deeper into those subjects before deciding how you feel about them? Because how you feel about them is not everything. It's not objective necessarily, or even subjective reality. The next thing would really be like, what are you hoping to achieve by responding to things you don't like, don't agree with, can't really see the full viewpoint of, or not really willing to dig deeper into? Like, are you just going to stay at a shallow level, or at some point are you actually going to dig deeper into the subject? And if so, then maybe reserving your judgment and coming back to it later is a better option. Number 3 is like, could you redirect this energy in some other direction? Like, you might feel frustrated, you might feel angry, you might have a lot of different feelings attached to the statement, whatever it may be. And would it be possible to take that in a more productive direction? I mean, starting arguments with people, at least what I've found anyway, is these people just love arguments. And so arguing with them or proving them wrong or entertaining their responses usually just is more pleasurable to them. And then you're on the other end responding intelligently and calmly starting to feel frustrated. So, I mean, they win in that scenario every single time. If people took all the time they spent complaining over the course of a lifetime and were able to accumulate it, they could probably write a book in that time. In fact, they could probably write multiple books. So it still, to me, comes down to how do you want to spend your time, and are you intentional about it? And do you want to move things in a productive direction, or are you here to judge others, to stir things up? Trolling is one thing because, I mean, sometimes it has a comedic effect. But if you're just here to poke holes in others, like, I think you really should begin finding something better to do with your time. You're not going to be here for very long. Another question that's well worth asking, of course, is like, does this statement fit in with the person that I know and the type of content that they produce? And if the answer is, I don't know this person, you haven't done adequate research yet, right? And if the answer is no, the content doesn't really seem consistent with the character I know. Could just be that their account was hacked or something like that. So in either case, I don't know what being reactive is really going to do for you, unless it is the case that you really just enjoy criticizing others, in which case, whatever. Again, I know it's so easy to live in snippet world because tweets are only allowed to be 280 characters, right? And TikTok videos used to be, 30, 50 seconds or whatever, and I think they're up to 4 minutes now. But regardless, like, short form content is sort of the thing, and not everything lends itself well to short form content, and not everything you see is necessarily something that you have to react to. It's not, to me, it's not very intentional as far as browsing and scanning social media goes. There's much better use of your time there, following your Dream 100, commenting on their stuff, modeling their posts. I mean, to me, that's where the value is. It's coming up fast and there's no time. Clean Slate 2024 is coming up fast, February 16th in Victoria, BC. You don't want to miss out on this incredible live music and multimedia event with a dosage of inspiration to light you up creatively and to have an amazing 2024. Once again, that's Clean Slate. You don't want to miss out. Go to davidandrewweeb.com and you'll either have the option to get updates, win tickets, or buy tickets as soon as they go on sale. So once again, I invite you to go to davidandrewweeb.com and get your tickets right away. See you there.